I still remember the way she smiled under the boardwalk lights, how the ocean breeze toyed with her hair like it was alive. She was everything to me. My world, my air, my reason to exist. And yet, she betrayed me in the worst way possible. I don't know why I'm telling this story. Maybe it's guilt, or maybe I just need someone to know. Someone to understand why I did what I did. It started with a feeling, a whisper in the back of my mind telling me something was off. She was distant, laughing at jokes I wasn't a part of, disappearing for hours without explanation. I wanted to believe her, I really did. But when I found the messages on her phone, the late-night texts, the secret calls, I shattered. It wasn't just another man. It was my own brother. Rage is an odd thing. It doesn't explode all at once. It simmers, slow and silent, until it consumes everything inside you. I didn't confront her right away. No, I let it fester. I let it burn through my veins until there was nothing left but cold, calculated resolve. I invited her for a late-night walk along the boardwalk, just like we used to. She was hesitant, but I knew she would come. She always did. The waves crashed against the shore, a hypnotic rhythm masking the pounding of my heart. She laughed at something stupid, her voice like nails against my skin. I led her to the edge of the boardwalk, where the wooden planks groaned beneath our weight. The moon was high, painting silver streaks across the ocean. It was the perfect place, the perfect moment. "Tell me the truth," I said, my voice calm, almost gentle. She hesitated, eyes darting away. That was all the confirmation I needed. The first shove caught her off guard. She stumbled, arms flailing, a gasp escaping her lips. I grabbed her wrist before she could regain her balance, pulling her close, whispering in her ear. "Was he worth it?" Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't scream. She knew. She knew there was no getting out of this. The second push sent her over the edge. I watched as she plunged into the waves below, her body swallowed by the darkness of the ocean. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the sea roared back to life, as if it had accepted its offering. I stood there for a long time, listening, waiting. The wind whispered her name, the waves carried her secrets. And as I turned to walk away, I swore I heard a voice, a soft, ghostly whisper drifting up from the depths. I'm still here. Now, every time I walk the boardwalk, I hear the same whisper. Every time I close my eyes, I see her face. I thought throwing her into the sea would erase her, but I was wrong. The ocean never gives back what it takes, but it never truly keeps it either. The wooden boardwalk gasped under the pressure of the raging winds, its cracked planks screaming with every step I took. The scent of mold mixed with the salty sea air, as if the very ground here was exhaling poison. I would never have returned to this hell if not for the message I found pinned to the door of my old home, written in a scrawl that resembled a child's scribble. "Kathy is waiting for you. Find her where you buried your secrets." 10 years had passed since Kathy disappeared. We used to play here beneath the boardwalk, while our mother prepared dinner. I heard her scream suddenly and ran toward the sound, but all I found was her torn stuffed toy hanging from one of the wooden pillars. They said she had fallen into the sea, but I saw what they didn't. A black hand emerging from between the planks, dragging her into the darkness. Midnight. The flashlight in my hand trembled as I aimed it beneath the boardwalk. The darkness here was not natural. It was a thick, liquid void that swallowed the light. The sand beneath my feet shifted as if it were pulsing. A whisper. I turned around. The whisper morphed into a muffled giggle. Kathy's giggle. "Brother." Her voice came from every direction as if the boardwalk itself was speaking. The stuffed toy. There, Among the dried seaweed sat Kathy's brown stuffed bear. The same cracked glass eye, the same red stain on its back where I had accidentally spilled strawberry juice. I picked it up with a trembling hand, and suddenly, the bear's head exploded. Filthy black threads spilled from within, and the air filled with the stench of rotting flesh. "You killed me." Kathy's voice rose from the writhing black threads, twisting like serpents. She appeared suddenly. Her pale blonde hair hung in damp, tangled strands like seaweed. Her eyes were completely white, void of pupils. Her bloated skin dripped with salt water, and her faded blue dress clung to her body like snake skin. "Why did you let me die alone?" She stepped toward me, her elongated fingers, resembling the claws of a crab, clicking as she moved. I tried to run, but the black threads from the stuffed bear wrapped around my ankle. Kathy yanked me to the ground, her face now just inches from mine. The stench of her body was that of a corpse lost to the sea for centuries. "You pushed me under the planks. You gave me to them." She screamed, her voice layered with countless others, as if hundreds of souls spoke from within her. The truth. That day. Yes, I was the one who grabbed her hand and shoved her beneath the boardwalk, desperate to silence her screams. I was furious because she had told our mother that I burned my school books. I didn't know they were there. I didn't know they were waiting for prey. "You're dead," I whispered as her fingers pierced my stomach. When I returned to town after 15 years, it felt like I'd never left. The same narrow streets, the same old wooden houses, and that heavy, swampy scent lingering in the air as if it were part of the place itself. I wouldn't have looked back if it weren't for the letter I received this morning, an old yellowed piece of paper, the handwriting shaky as if written by a trembling hand. "Midnight. End of the boardwalk. Come alone." There was no signature, but I knew exactly who it was from. Or at least, who wanted me to believe they had sent it. Jack, who disappeared on a suffocating summer night 15 years ago, when we were just 13. We loved dares, and the wooden boardwalk was the ultimate test. That rickety bridge stretching over the swamp, so old that no one even remembered when it was built. The adults warned us about it over and over, not because it might collapse, but because of the stories. Stories of people who walked to the end and never came back. We were kids, foolish, and we didn't believe in ghost stories. On the night Jack disappeared, we stood at the entrance of the boardwalk, daring him to walk all the way to the end. He was confident, laughing as he said, "Watch me. I'll be back before you even count to 20. But he never came back. We waited, we called his name, we even took a few hesitant steps onto the boardwalk, but the fog was thick that night and the water below was eerily still. We saw nothing. We heard nothing but the wind whispering through the trees. For days the police searched the swamp. They never found him. No body, no clothes, no trace. He had simply vanished. And now, 15 years later, here I was, at midnight, standing at the start of that same boardwalk, gripping my flashlight, staring at the letter again, wondering if I had lost my mind for coming back. A snap echoed through the trees. I turned, my flashlight trembling in my grip, but the beam of light revealed only the thick, endless fog. I took a deep breath and stepped onto the first wooden plank. Creak. The sound was too loud in the eerie silence, as if the boardwalk itself was protesting my return. I moved slowly, my footsteps careful on the worn-out planks that looked even more fragile than I remembered, as if they hadn't been touched in years. As I neared the middle of the boardwalk, something felt wrong. The air was colder here, unnaturally so, like stepping into an underground chamber. The swamp beneath me was stagnant, its black surface reflecting the moonlight like a dark, murky mirror. Then I heard it. "Ethan." I froze, my heart pounded against my ribs. "Help me." The voice was faint but unmistakable. "Jack." I tried to convince myself I was imagining things, but then something moved beneath the water. I aimed my flashlight at the surface, and small bubbles began to rise like something breathing beneath the swamp. The water shifted ever so slightly, despite the absolute stillness of the air. Then I saw it. A face, floating just beneath the surface. Not just any face. Jack's face. His skin was bloated, his eyes pure white, lifeless. His mouth was frozen in a silent scream. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then slowly he raised his hand from the depths. His skeletal fingers broke through the surface, reaching for something. For me. A step. I didn't move. That step wasn't mine, but I heard it. Clear as day. On the boardwalk. Behind me. I turned swiftly. There was no one there. Just the fog and the endless, empty stretch of the boardwalk behind me. Then I looked back at the water. Jack's face was gone, but in the reflection, I saw it. Someone was standing behind me. Before I could scream, the wooden plank beneath me collapsed. The last thing I heard was a whisper inches from my ear in Jack's voice. "It's your turn now."